Hello students, from today onwards we are going to start World History series of lectures, and in this series you will study various events that happened in the world history. This world history is mainly mains oriented topic. Then we will look into the syllabus of the world history which is given by UPSC. History of the world will include events from 18th century such as industrial revolution, world wars, redrawal of national boundaries, colonization, decolonization, political philosophies like communism, capitalism, socialism, etc., and the forms and the effects on the society. So, this is the UPSC prescribed syllabus of world history. To understand this syllabus in the micro level, we will study many aspects of the world history like we will start the world history from Dark Age, then Renaissance period, then formation of nation states, then Reformation period, and we will also study many aspects like feudalism, capitalism, mercantilism, geographical discoveries by the European nations, and the rise of colonialism. And aftermath of that, the age of revolutions starts. Like it starts with Glorious Revolution in England in 1688, then American Revolution 1776, then French Revolution. We will also study about Napoleon Bonaparte after completion of this French Revolution. Then we will start with Industrial Revolution, the rise of capitalism, unification of Germany, unification of Italy, impact of capitalism on Asia and Africa, and the Japan industrialization. Then we will also study about the world wars like the World War I, its impacts, consequences, causes, and aftermath effects of the World War I. Then we will study about the League of Nations. After the League of Nations, we will study about the Russian Revolution, rise of fascism in Italy, Nazism in Germany, and the militarism in Japan, communist movements in Russia and China. Then we will study about the World War II. World War II, its impacts, causes, and consequences. After completion of the World War II, we will study the establishment of the United Nations Organization, Cold War, colonization and decolonization process, redrawal of national boundaries. Then up to here, like we will study in depthly, and we will also deal with political philosophies like socialism, communism, capitalism, and European Union के बारे में भी like we will study, and Chinese revolutions, Mao strategies, and different aspects like Israel-Palestinian conflict, collapse of the Soviet Union, emergence of the US as a supreme power in the world. These all are the events that we will deal in the following lectures, and world history had a good amount of weightage in the mains GS paper 1. So the world history is very important to relate the events that happened in India from 15th century onwards. Now we will enter into the topic. So generally, the history of any nation or the continent is divided into three parts: ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. So this division is not on the basis of chronology. It is not on the basis of the chronology, but it is on the basis of outstanding political, cultural, and social events that changed its course. So it's not based on the chronology, but it's based on these division of history into ancient, medieval, and modern is based upon political, cultural, and social events that changed its course. So the world history is divided based upon the events that changed its course. Ancient world history period starts from the birth of early civilizations like Nile and Euphrates civilization to the fall of mighty Roman Empire in 476 AD. So this is the ancient period, from the birth of early civilizations to the fall of mighty Roman Empire. And then the medieval period starts. The medieval period starts from the fall of Roman Empire to the capture of Constantinople by Turks in 1453 AD. So it starts from the fall of Roman Empire and the capture of Constantinople by Turks in 1453 AD. And the modern period starts from the 1453 AD, and that is from the capture of the Constantinople by Turks to 1945 AD. That is end of Second World War. So it is from the capture of Constantinople to the end of Second World War. So this is the modern period of the world history. During this centuries, many moments has happened during this 15th century, like the starting of the modern period, like Renaissance movement happened, Reformation movement happened, geographical discoveries took place. So the starting phase of this modern period is shaped by these different aspects. So now we will start with the Dark Age. So what is Dark Age? Already I have said that the Middle Ages starts from the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of Ottoman Empire. So after the fall of Roman Empire, a lot of Roman knowledge and culture was lost. So this includes Roman art, Roman history, culture, technology, some of the scientific inventions. So all this knowledge and culture was lost. So this is why historians call this time as the Dark Age. So why they call this as a Dark Age? Because like in the starting phase of the Middle Ages, when the fall of Roman Empire had happened, all the knowledge and the culture of the Roman Empire got lost. So the historians started calling it as the Dark Age. And the phase is also called as Middle Age because it falls in the middle of two important periods, that is classical period of the Greek and Rome and the European Renaissance movement. So its phase is called as Middle Age because it falls between classical period of the Greek ancient period and European Renaissance movements. That is the starting of the modern period. So it is known as medieval period. The Roman Empire was amongst the most powerful economic, cultural, political and military forces in the world. So it's the largest empire in the world history, covering around 5.4 million square kilometers in Europe and Asia. So it's a greater empire, Roman Empire. So what was the reasons for the fall of the greater Roman Empire? So we can say there were many reasons for the fall of Roman Empire. The first reason is invasion of some barbarian tribes. So these tribes came from different localities, and they start quarreling among the Roman kings, and economic troubles has happened in this Roman Empire. And the rise of Eastern Empire. So the Eastern Empire is known as Byzantine Empire. Eastern Roman Empire is known as Byzantine Empire. Because of this rise of the Eastern Roman Empire, the actual Roman Empire, that is Western Roman Empire, had lost its significance and it's about to fall. And the over expansion and the spending so much of amount of the money on the military and political instability can be seen as the main factors for the downfall of this great Roman Empire. And even the king appointed officials or the government officials also started doing corruption. So these all conditions have led to the fall of the greater Roman Empire. So what actually it is called as Dark Age? Why? What actually is Dark Age? Because during these ages there is a lack of scientific and cultural advancement in the areas. So in these Middle Ages there is lack of scientific and cultural advantage. During this time there is no support for education of the citizens of Roman Empire, because due to constant wars with barbarian tribes and there is a lot of factors. So due to these all factors, so there is no scientific and cultural advancement took place in this Roman Empire. So it is considered to be as a Dark Age. So later on, what are the features of this Dark Age? So what are the features? Western Latin speaking Roman Empire and the was started downfalling, and the Greek speaking Eastern Roman Empire, which is called as Byzantine Empire. So the Roman Empire is basically divided into two. The Western actual Roman Empire is this Western Roman Empire, which is concentrated in the Europe, and their native language is Latin. But Eastern Roman Empire is also present. It is called as Byzantine Empire, and their native language is Greek. And when this Greek speaking Eastern Roman Empire has started rising, this Western Latin speaking Roman Empire got fallen, and it started creating amazing, this Greek speaking Eastern Roman Empire started creating amazing amount of art and architecture, literature, philosophy and theology. During this period, the rise of Islam is also happened. In turn, the Islam is spreading across the southern, eastern, Mediterranean and coming in contact with the Christian world. And the following are the Islam started fighting, or the Muslims started fighting with the Christians to occupy the territories, and in turn the Christians also started fighting with these Muslims against this Islamic invasions. So they were mutually quarreling among these times. So that is the period of Crusades, and this Eastern Roman Empire started occupying by this Muslims, Islam following people, and the Eastern Roman Empire's kings also started quarreling among this Islamic people. So this was a huge amount of turmoil which was happening in that period. So due to that, there is no cultural advancement or the scientific advancement or even the educational advancements, because the total the time or the timeline is surrounded by these wars. So the people were fighting against each other. So there is no cultural advantage. So there is a huge religious struggle happening between these Christians and the Muslims. And in turn, the Christians, within the Christians, the Orthodox Christians have regarded this time as Catholic corruption, because Catholic Christians have started doing corruptions. So like these were hated by the people also. The Orthodox Christians have started, like Orthodox Christians means the Christians who actually follows the Jesus Christ teachings, and the Catholics also follows the Jesus Christ teachings, but the Catholics have actually became corrupt, and this Catholic the popes have become corrupt during these ages, and they started influencing on the king, and they started becoming overpowered and in turn influencing on the king and also controlling the people with its ideology. And it is restricting people in each and every instance, and it is like threatening the people if any person questions the power of the Catholic Church. So it has become overpowered, it is influencing the king, it is totally spreading its ideology, it is restricting the people, and due to that it started corruption also, it is acquiring estates. So the church is becoming more and more powerful, and the king is under this church or under the hands of this church. This has made a huge amount of the resentment among the people, and the people insidely feeling that we have to overthrow this church, and we have to like overthrow these wars also, and we have to shift to the nice place or the nice regions to start our cultural and educational and like advancement. So the age old conflict between the Christianity and the Islam remains until this day, which was started at that moment. So in this period, the religious superstitions was also widespread, and there were blind followers for the religions were also there, like blind follower of Islamism, blind follower of the Christianity was also there in this period. So in turn, this made this period is the period where the actual rationality of the human was totally suppressed, and the whatever the taught by the religious people were infused into the minds of the people, and the people also became same way, and some people started to revolt, but some people were in same way, like they were still following the religious superstitions and the religious beliefs, and they were the blind followers. And in this period, the oppression of the feudal lords also started. The feudal lords also started. Feudal lords can be equated with the zamindars of India. So the feudal lords, he is a lord of huge amount of the land, and he is totally oppressing the farmers, the poor farmers. So like these are different scenarios which was happening during this Middle Ages. Middle Ages throughout, like it is very difficult period, because feudal lords ki oppression, religious superstition, church ki overpower, and there is a fights between Islam Islam following people and the Muslim like Christianity. There were many other factors which made this period as a dark age. So most of the educated people and economic power slowly starting to move to the eastern Mediterranean regions, that is to the western side of the Europe. So during this time, a different style of art was also developed. During this medieval time only, a different style of art was also developed. This is known as Gothic style. But suddenly in 1453 AD, Muhammad II of the Ottoman Empire occupied the Constantinople and devastated it. So the Muhammad II belonging to the Ottoman Empire, and he killed the Byzantine Empire's king and established his rule all over this Byzantine region. The Eastern Roman Empire was defeated and the Ottoman Empire started ruling. Muhammad II was a king and he captured the Byzantine Empire capital city Constantinople and totally devastated it and occupied the total region. So thousands of the Greek scholars who are present in the Eastern Roman Empire, or the Greek philosophers, artists and all the people, after this Muslims ki occupation or Mohammedans ki occupation in the Ottoman Empire ke baad, they were forced to migrate to the other countries like Italy, France and Germany. And so the scholars, when they were traveling to the different countries of the Europe, they started to take away the ancient Greek and Rome knowledge, science and a new way of thinking along with them. So when they are migrating from this Ottoman Empire to the western part of the Europe, they started taking away this ancient Greek, Roman knowledge, science, new way of thinking along with them. So by this we can say that the fall of Constantinople have paved the way for the Renaissance movement. So the fall of Constantinople into the hands of the Ottoman Empire has paved the way for the Renaissance. So now we will start with the Renaissance movement. In this topic we will learn about Renaissance. So the question arises in your minds, what is Renaissance? And what are the causes of the Renaissance and what are the effects of the Renaissance movement? The word Renaissance is generally used to denote the great intellectual movement which had happened after the occupation of the Constantinople by the Turks in 1453 AD. In turn, leading to the migration of scholarly people from the early Byzantine Empire to the different greater cities of the Europe. So the Renaissance has marked the close of Middle Ages and the beginning of the modern period. So the Renaissance has marked the close of Middle Ages and the beginning of modern period. But what is the actual meaning of the Renaissance? So the Renaissance in its literary sense means rebirth or new birth. So the Renaissance means rebirth or new birth, or the revival of classical learning of ancient Greece and Rome literature. It's a revival of classical learning of ancient Greek and Rome literature. Basically, it was a study of old classics of Latin and Greek literature, their art and the way of life that they led at that time. So it's a reactionary against the medieval form of ruling by the church. It's a reactionary movement against the medieval form of ruling by the church and an intellectual awakening movement of the people. So it can be considered as an intellectual awakening of the among the people by reading these classics. So now we will discuss about the factors or the causes that led to the Renaissance. There are many factors which contributed for the intellectual quickening or awakening of this period. The first factor is the constant and intimate contact of European people with the East countries or with the Eastern culture. So the intimate contact of the European people for a long time with the East side, Eastern countries and the Eastern culture had stimulated them to improve their institutions and way of life. It means these contacts with the East, here East in the sense like Eastern countries, have inspired them to live a very joyful life and a very disciplined life. So is the first factor, that is the constant intimate contact of Europe with the Eastern countries for a long time has led them to a Renaissance. The second factor is Constantinople, under the patronage of Byzantine Empire, was a center of classical learning in the Middle Ages. But when it fell into the hands of the Turks in 1453 AD, a large number of classical scholars have left the Constantinople and settled in Italy, as we have already discussed, and other European countries. These scholars have stimulated the people to have keen interest in classical learning. These scholars have intent or stimulated the people to have interest in this classical learning. This is the second factor. These scholars who have migrated from this Byzantine Empire after the occupation of the Ottoman Empire has stimulated the people to have the keen interest in learning. The third factor is the decay of feudalism and the rise of rich middle class enabled the people of Europe to take intellectual pursuits or intellectual things and started inquiring into something. So in turn, the classical literatures were promoted and patronized by the people of the Europe at that time. So the classical literatures were promoted and patronized. because of the decay of the feudalism and the rise of the rich middle class, all the people have shifted their mindset towards the intellectual analysis. And the fourth factor is establishment of large number of universities was a major cause for the Renaissance movement. The large number of the universities were established during this age all over the Europe at places like Rome, Naples, Padua, Paris, Oxford, Cambridge. So in these universities, what they are taught, like students were taught classics. So these universities had facilitated the enrichment of intellectual and cultural activities of the age. So the students have facilitated to enrich their intellectual ability and the cultural activities. And the fifth factor is the writings of great personalities like Roger Bacon promoted skepticism among the people and spirit of inquiry among the people. So what is skepticism? So skepticism is inquiring or questioning about something. And this Roger Bacon writings has shaken the foundations of old church beliefs. So he went against the old church beliefs and he started questioning them. He started skepticizing them, and he inculcated the spirit of inquiry among the people. And in turn, what's the result of these writings is the replacement of unquestionable obedience by the people to the church to critical reasoning and scientific inquiry. So what people have transformed, at starting before his writings, the people used to unquestionably obey to the church. But what happened after reading his writings? They started critically thinking, critically reasoning something, and scientific inquiry. So, these in turn improvised the rationality of the people. And the sixth factor for the Renaissance is the revival of classical literatures happened during this period. And this revival was done by Virgil, Caesar, Cicero, Dante, Petrarch, Boccaccio. So this has improvised or revived the people's interest in classics. After reading these classics, they reveal the shallowness. The people have known the shallowness of the scholarly learning imposed by the church. So what this statement has meant. So earlier, whatever which was approved by the church should be taught or should be circulated. So after reading this classics, the people of the Europe had known that there were very much amount of broadness were there in scholarly subjects. So whatever the church said, that's it's okay. But more than church, we have many more subjects to learn and to read and to experience. So this was led to the intellectual abilities of the people and to learn new subjects. The spirit of learning new subjects has increased among the people. And seventh factor which led to the Renaissance is astronomical discoveries. This is the most important thing. So some of the theories, like the theory that the shape of earth is round, the invention of the mariner's compass, has disproved the scholarly doctrines of the church. The church said that the earth is very flat, and if you travel to a long distance, then you will fall into a deep trench or into space. So these theories were pleased by the European people. But later what happened, they got to know about these theories of shape of the earth is round, and we can travel to a longer distances through this mariner's compass also. Then they have lost the credibility which was there on the church. So church ki teachings ko people nahi maan rahe ho. So they are not pleased with this church ki teachings. So they displeased the church, and they were not very enthusiastic to listen whatever the church has said. And consequently, the works of Plato, Aristotle, and the Roman law were extensively studied by the Europeans. This has improved their intellectual capability. And above all the factors, the invention of the printing press by Gutenberg in 1454 had totally changed the scenario. Due to this printing press, more amount of the paper was used, that is, extensive use of the paper happened, and the knowledge which was produced by different scholars were printed on these papers and circulated. So this has broadened the education and quickened the intellectual movement in the Europe. Then we will deal about the effects of the Renaissance and the contribution of the Renaissance to the European civilization. Till now we have studied about the factors which led to the Renaissance. Now we will study about the effects and contributions. The first contribution of Renaissance is emergence of classicism. Classicism. So, what is classicism? The new learning in the people of the Europe had inaugurated the grace of classicism. The classicism is nothing but admiration of classical civilizations of ancient Greece and Rome by the people as the greatest ever known. So the people started admiring the classical civilizations of ancient Greek and Rome, and the people are considering these civilizations as the greatest ever known civilization, and in turn they were condemning the medieval things. So what are happening in the medieval, they were condemning it, they were not liking it. So the events which happened in the medieval India were condemned by the Europeans and not embraced by the Europeans. So the next important result, so after classicism, the next important result was the development of humanism. So what is humanism? Humanism means glorification of human. So a human himself glorifying him. So according to the humanism, individual happiness in this world was given utmost priority, and the humanist doesn't bother for the life in the next world. That is, like earlier church has said that there will be another life and all the people should not commit mistakes and should not enjoy in their life, and they should be very helpful to the others, and we should have a very simple life. And if they commit mistakes, if any person commits mistake, and if they lead a very joyful life, then the hell will be awarded to them by the God. And if they were very pure and led a very simple life, then heaven will be given to them by the God. So these teachings were said by the church, but this philosophy was not approved by the humanists. Humanists majorly considered about individual happiness. We should be in very happy. Individual should be very happy, and we should not bother the life in the next world. And the humanists are nothing but the followers of humanism. They advocated satisfaction is better than sacrifice, and also self gratification, self satisfaction is greater than self denial, and in turn leading to the joyful life in the Europe. They started leading life very joyfully. Under study, these above mentioned philosophy of humanism were called as humanities. So, like this humanism ki philosophy were coded in the book, and whatever the subjects which deal about this humanism is known as humanities. And even, for example, Plato had started the academy. Plato had started his school called as academy. In the school, he used to teach the humanities, and he patronized them and he published them. And the third effect of the Renaissance is scholarly research. So the new learning stimulated the intellectual curiosity among the people, and they started criticizing the church, and it also led to the scholarly research. So the people started reading more and more about the classics, and from that they are developing the curiosity and doing research on them. In turn, many scholars have ransacked the monasteries and old libraries. They went and they have totally pulled down all these monasteries and old libraries ki books, collected a large number of the classical manuscripts. So the other effect of the Renaissance is development of individualism. So what does the individualism means? So the individualism means like being happy, being as an individual, glorifying himself. And the this individualism fostered or developed a spirit of inquiry and the critical approaches and critical thinking in a man. So individualism has developed spirit of inquiry and critical approach. The individual took pride in glorifying his own achievements, and the dominance of the church is broken by the individual. So due to this individualism, the dominance of the church was broken, and so they doesn't respected the church, and everything is inquired and critically examined by the man after this Renaissance movement. And as you know, like other effect is establishment of the new universities. The new universities were established to patronize the new learning that different from the universities were established at the medieval times. So these universities has mostly different curriculum, and universities after this Renaissance movement were established in Leuven in Netherlands, St. Andrews in Scotland, Wittenberg in Germany. These are the universities which were established after this Renaissance movement, and they were different from of the other universities which were established prior to this Renaissance movement. And the other effect of the Renaissance is change in educational system. In education, the curriculum was enlarged by the addition of new subjects like grammar, classicisms, and sports. So the three new subjects were introduced: grammar, classicism, and sports. And the major change was happened like the study of history was separated both from theology and mythology, and spirit of inquiry started from the people. So the history is divided from theology and mythology. And the other contribution of the Renaissance is development of intellectuals, like greater literary figures rose in Europe at the beginning of this modern period, like Erasmus, the great humanist of the Netherlands, Thomas More, the author of Utopia in England, and Martin Luther in Germany. These were the greater intellectuals of this time. So the Renaissance has made them, or Renaissance has given them to us. Like the development of intellectuals has happened during this Renaissance. And the major effect of this Renaissance movement is the development of vernacular languages. This is the most important point. So what are the vernacular languages? Vernacular languages means local languages. Due to the pioneer efforts of Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio and others, vernaculars took place of Latin and Greek. So the vernacular took place of Latin and Greek, and in turn promote the growth of vernaculars in Europe. The most vernacular language has take the places of Latin and Greek languages. So these most of these vernacular languages has took the place of these Latin and Greek, and the people started writing in these vernacular languages, and the people started studying in these vernacular languages. So they are being more and more equipped with the knowledge, and their intellectual capabilities are also increasing due to this vernacular language. For example, if any person teaches you any topic in your mother tongue, then it will be easily understandable by you, and so in the same and easily graspable by you, and you can relate it for a long amount of the time. And this vernacular languages plays a major role in intellectual awakening of the people. And some authors of this age were Tasso in Italy, Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote, in Spain, Chaucer and Shakespeare. You are well aware of these people. They are in England. Rabelais, the author of Gargantua in France, Martin Luther in Germany, contributed a lot for the enrichment of these vernacular languages in their respective country. The other drawback of this Renaissance is the growth of linguistic nationalism. So the linguistic nationalism happened during this period. The major reason for it is the growth of the vernacular language, which became a curse to the international solidarity of today. Why? Because it's aiming for one language, one nation. So due to that only, the European nations have fought among each other for acquiring the territories. And the major other important effect of this Renaissance movement is development of the art and culture. So art and culture during this Renaissance period, under the influence of classicism and humanism, the artistic activity of Europe underwent a great change. The medieval art was known as Gothic art, and it was given up by the people. This Gothic art was not followed by the people, and the people or the artists looked to the classical age for the inspiration and drawing models related to that classical age only. So the Renaissance has manifested itself into a great outburst of the artistic activity in architecture, sculpturing and painting. So the Renaissance has a great outburst of artistic activity in three fields: architecture field, sculpturing fields, and painting fields. So we will discuss some examples of this art and architecture of this Renaissance period. St. Peter's Church in the Rome is the largest ever built, was a contribution of the Renaissance architecture. And the Renaissance architecture may Ghiberti was a great sculptor of this age, and the marvelous doors which he carved on the baptistry Florence were exclaimed by many people. Even like Leonardo da Vinci belongs to this period, who painted the Last Supper and greatest painting Mona Lisa belongs to this age only. And the Michelangelo, who painted the Fresco, the Last Judgment, and the Raphael were the best celebrated painters of this age. Then the most important contribution of the Renaissance is Renaissance has led to the great scientific discoveries and inventions. Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo proved beyond doubt that the sun is the center of the universe and all the planets, including the earth, revolves around the sun. Previous recommended the adoption of Gregorian calendar, Many scientific inventions happened in this period, like printing press was discovered by this or invented by this Gutenberg, telescope by Galileo, gunpowder and Marinus compass is also developed by Galileo, and it was an age of glory in the field of physics, biology and social science. So in all the fields it was a huge development is taking place. Many people have excelled in these fields, like Tartaglia, Cardan, Stevinus in mathematics, Porta, Galileo in physics, Harvey in medicine, and Machiavelli in the sciences, social sciences. Gesner in biology, Machiavelli and Bodin in social science were the leading lights of this period. The Renaissance, with its spirit of adventure and inquiry, also led to the starting of geographical discoveries of the world. So, this Renaissance movement in turn has inspired the people to do geographical discoveries around the world. So, above all contributions, the Renaissance, by fostering the spirit of inquiry and intellectual awakening, undermined the authority of the church, weakened it, and thus ultimately paved the way for the Reformation. So, this Renaissance has paved the way for the Reformation by fostering the spirit of inquiry among the people, intellectually awakening the people, and undermining the authority of the church, questioning the church key authority, and weakening it. So, this all led for the Reformation movement. So, here comes what is meant by the Reformation. What are the effects of the Reformation movement, and what are the causes of the Reformation movement, and what actually the Reformation lead to will be discussed in the upcoming slides. The Reformation was mighty religious upheaval that took place in the Christendom at the starting of the modern ages in Europe. So it was a revolt against the abuses, the scandals of the Roman Catholic Church of 16th century. Reformation, they want some reforms in Catholic Church. So they want the reforms in the Catholic Church, and they want reforms in the system of administration, and they want reforms in their country. Further, they underwent a movement called as Reformation movement. It is against to the operation of the church at that time. It was also considered as a Protestant movement and Reformation movement, since it not only protest against the abuse of the church but also aimed at its removal. The Reformation movement started in Germany first, and it soon spread to the other parts of the Europe. The Reformation had far-reaching effects that practically does time the shaping of the modern age. So the far-reaching effects have shaped the destiny of the modern age. So Reformation is meant to undermine or oppress or against the oppression of the church, but the Reformation movement is not religious in character, but it is not religious in character. Many causes were responsible for this Reformation movement. Like we have religious cause, we have political cause for Reformation, economic cause. Renaissance is one of the cause for Reformation. The humanism, earlier revolts of Wycliffe and Huss, and immediate cause of the Reformation was the sale of indulgence. These were the reasons for the outbreak of this Reformation movement. So we will discuss the causes. Religious causes. At the beginning of the modern period, there was a moral decay in the Christian church, and grave scandals were associated with the papal court at Rome. So at the starting phase there was the Christian church is morally decayed. There is large amount of immorality in the church ki fathers and popes and there were grave scandals were associated with these people. Even the grave scandals were happened at the papal court at Rome. And in turn, the church officers from pope to the priest discarded the original teachings of the Jesus. They are not following the original teachings of the Jesus. And what are the original teachings of the Jesus? So the leading a very life of chastity and leading a very simple life in a poverty. So this was the original teachings of the Jesus, which was not followed by these persons associated with the church, that is fathers and popes, and they are leading a very easeful life, and they are even very shameful of their immoral acts which was done by them. and they started indulging in getting illegally married also. So they are leaving their chastity and they are getting illegally married, and they are producing children out of this illegal marriage, and try to enrich themselves by all means. For example, we can say like Pope Alexander VI, who is chiefly concerned in securing estates and social positions for his worthless children. So the Pope Alexander VI have concern in securing estates for the children who are produced out of the illegal marriage. And in turn, the other Pope, Julius II, aimed to transform the papal state into a compact Italian principality. So, like Julius II have tried to transform the total papal state or the church state into Italian principality. And Leo X resorted to the meanest way for getting money. He was resorted to a very cheap way for getting money by selling the indulgences. So, what are indulgences that we will study further? So, moreover, the church people or the clergy was fond of new learning and art rather than piety. So, we can say that thus the notorious difference between the original teachings of the Jesus and the actual practices of this church people, fathers and popes were fully known to the people. Hence, they lost reverence for the church and demanded for its reform. So, the people went against to these people because after knowing the original teachings of the Jesus, and they thought that these people were very, very immoral. So, they in turn demanded for the reformation in the church. So, that led to the Reformation movement. And the other cause is political cause. So prior to the 16th century, the church was not only a religious body, as you know, but it is also a political power. Why it is considered to be a political power? Because this church has a direct influence on king. So like they can make the king or they can break the king. So this church owed a huge estates. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा land इसके हाथ में है. Or it is exempted from taxation. It had its own law courts and tried the offenders also. So it has own courts, it has own estates, it is exempted from the tax, and it can try the offenders. And there was a large body of hierarchical officers who are also present, and they are running a parallel government only. And these even the persons who are working under the king were showing their allegiance to the pope. So in turn, whatever the pope says, that will be the law, or whatever the pope will advise to the king, that the king should compulsorily perform it. So the king became lower powered and the church or the pope has become upper powered or overpowered. So the church and the pope became a supreme power. It is meant to made and unmade the kings. So if we think, then it can make a king, or if he if the pope doesn't want this king to continue, then he may remove the king. And it also played a predominant role in determining the politics of the age. So it is playing a predominant role. In this way, it stood against the growth of any centralized monarchy in Europe. So यूरोप में centralized monarchy को आने के रोक रहा था. So this church is like stopping or going against for the growth of centralized monarchy. Monarchy बोले तो all the powers lies with the king. But here what happens? The monarchy में all the powers lies with the king, but here the pope की rule चल रहा था. So it was more oriented towards the pope. So the church or the pope doesn't want the monarch the king to become monarch. And by the 16th century, the situation was totally changed and altered. The first thing is the decay of feudalism happened, and the second thing is the growth of national consciousness has happened, and the third thing is the rise of middle class happened. So these three causes increased the demand for national states. So the national monarchs or the kings who acquainted themselves with the writings of Machiavelli. So the monarchs or the kings have studied the writings of the Machiavelli, were aspiring to become absolute. So they want all the powers to be under them only. So the kings want all the powers and they don't want to act according to the church. So in turn, the kings were also going against to the church now, and even the people also want their freedom from the church. So the spirit of nationalism and absolutism and obedience to the papacy at the Rome meant loss of national independence. So the three things which meant to be the loss of national independence was spirit of nationalism, absolutism, and obedience to the papacy. So hence the kings and the patriots of every country of the Europe want to free themselves from this dominance of the church, and they were ready to lead any movement to overthrow this church. सो ये पैपल अथॉरिटी और द चर्च अथॉरिटी को ओवरथ्रो करने के लिए सभी लोग तैयार है. इवन द किंग्स ऑल्सो सपोर्टिंग द पीपल who want their national independence, and the king want to become more absolute because the powers now he is sharing with the church or the pope, or he is differentiating the powers between church and the pope, and church becoming more and more, or the pope becoming more and more overpowered. So this want to be altered. This is the political cause after Reformation, and economic of the Reformation, and economic cause of the Reformation. So the church was the richest organization in the Europe, and with its landed estates and the revenues of number of times and other taxes also it used to be collected like annates, Peter's pence. So it is becoming over and over economically powerful. So the capitalist spirit of these church people to amass wealth led to the financial abuses by the people. So the people started abusing these church because it is acting like a capitalist people. Hence everybody was blaming the accumulated wealth of the church. Moreover, it was complained that the riches of the church should be put to profitable use, and the exploitation of the innocent people by the Pope in extracting money should be stopped. So in turn, what the people are expecting that the money which was accumulated by the church should be spent for the useful purpose, like building of the roads, railways, or building of some different materials, providing food for the poor people. So they want these finances which the church has got to be put for good causes, and they also want the church should not extract money from the poor people, and it should not oppress these poor people. And the fourth cause for the Reformation is Renaissance. As you already know, Renaissance created in men a new spirit of inquiry and encouraged freedom of thought in individual. So the new learning not only challenged the authority of the Pope, but also questioned the blind obedience to the church. So challenged the authority of the Pope and questioned the blind obedience of the church, because the spirit of the inquiry and skepticism which was in the people meant to do like that. And the further Renaissance gave people a new look on life, the material welfare of the man on the earth as a supreme than the eternal life. They thought that we can't live happily after death, so we have to be very happy now itself. It was this outlook that led people to new geographical discoveries, as you know, and the mass wealth was stored by them, and new ideas of the church appeared to be stupid for the people, and the people have started even hating the Christianity because the church becoming more and more immoral. And the writing of humanists, the humanist writings be influencing the Reformation movement. It is also a cause for the Reformation movement, because the great humanists like Erasmus, Sir Thomas More, bitterly, of course, wittily attacked the abuses of the church. This mocking of these church people revealed the shallowness of the church, and they undermine the foundations of the church itself. The writings of the humanists mostly, they have seen the church in a different way, and they started attacking the church because of the immoral acts which was done by the clergy bolito churchmen, and they started even undermining the foundations of the church. So in turn, what happening, these writings of the humanists were inspired by the people, or inspiring the people, and this was also a cause for the Reformation movement. And the other cause is earlier revolts of the Hus and Wycliffe. So the Hus and John Wycliffe belongs to England, and Hus in Bohemia. So they were going against the church not only to reduce the prestige of the Pope की prestige reduce करने के लिए, but also they wanted to shake the foundations of the church. Why? Because this church is oppressing the people. The church is totally becoming overpowered. The church is influencing the king. The church is influencing the national policy. Church is dictating the people, and church is oppressing everyone. So through their movements were suppressed and failed, they influenced the forces leading to the Reformation movement. So they were the inspiration for the Reformation movement. Hence Wycliffe is called as morning star of the Reformation. So John Wycliffe belongs to the England, and Hus belongs to Bohemia. These two people were the inspirators of this Reformation movement. And the immediate cause of this Reformation, what was the immediate cause of the Reformation? That is sale of indulgence. Who sailed it? What is sale of indulgence? So the indulgence were the assurances given by the Pope to the sinners. Sinners bole to who create sins or who does the sins. That not only they but also their relatives and friends would escape the punishments or the fires of the hell in the next world. So indulgence were just like the papers, and if we buy that papers, then we will be escaped from the fires of the hell in the next world also, and we will not be punished by the God. So if we have to buy those indulgence key papers by producing some money, and so this is the new way of exploiting the people. So the sale of indulgence was started by the Pope Leo X. So the Pope Leo X sent out several agents to all parts of the Europe to sell these indulgences to raise money for the rebuilding of the great Basilica of Saint Peter. It was Tetzel. Leo X has assigned the work to the Tetzel, and Tetzel, one of the agents, went to the Germany for the sale of these indulgences. So this papers को sell करने के लिए Tetzel गया था Germany में. But Martin Luther, a German professor of theology in the University of Wittenberg, who could not bear this outrage of this Pope cheating the people, and he condemned the sale of the indulgence and challenged the Pope. Then he made an appeal to the German patriots to free their country from the control of the vicious foreign Pope. So thus began the Reformation movement in the Germany. So this was the main reason why the Reformation movement has started in the Germany. Then we have started this Reformation movement, like we have studied this Reformation movement. Then we have to study about the effects or the results or the significance of this movement, significance of this Reformation movement. The Reformation thought a religious revolt had far-reaching effects not only on the religion but also on the political, social and cultural conditions of the Europe. So it has far-reaching effects on each and everything. So first we will deal about the religious effect. So what is the religious effect? So division of Christianity and religious intolerance happened. So how this Reformation has led to the division of the Christianity? Reformation broke the unity and solidarity of the Christendom. By the close of 16th century, there were the three major divisions happened in the Christendom. So what are the three major divisions? As you already know, Orthodox and Catholic Church and Protestant Church. Protestants were the people who underwent this Reformation movement. The Protestant Church was again further divided into number of sects according to their place of origin of Reformation. So if Lutheranism in Sweden and some parts of Germany, Calvinism in Switzerland, Anglicanism in England, and Presbyterianism in Scotland, and Anabaptism, etc. So the split in Christendom and the differences among its sects led to an outburst of religious intolerance in every country. So religious intolerances have happened because the Christianity is different, like divided into different sects. So due to this different sects or groups, so what happened? The religious intolerance have grown up, and this religious intolerance has coupled with linguism, nationalism and racialism, and they started fighting amongst each other. So this was the main reason for fighting. The Protestants were fighting against the Catholic sect, and the Catholic sect is fighting against the Protestants. Orthodox were fighting against the both, and this division was also coupled with. So it also added with linguism. So same language and other languages like nationalism, racialism, etc. And the other religious effect is spirit of toleration. So due to this religious intoleration, the spirit of tolerism also developed. So after the division of the Christendom, many religious persecutions and bloodsheds happened. So the people want to relieve themselves from this bloodshed. So most of the kings, monarchs like Henry IV of France and Queen Elizabeth of England realized that the toleration of religion was the only way for the national unity and national consolidation. Hence, the way was clear for the freedom of worship and the birth of the secular state. So the kings have stated that like all the people should be very tolerant, then only the national unity and national consolidation can be acquired by us. So they have allowed the people to worship whichever the religions they want, or whichever the sect of the Christianity. Like if you want to wish Orthodox Church, you can, Catholic Church, you can, Protestant Church, you can. Hence they were very clear for the freedom of worship, and it led to the birth of secular state. Secular state bole to it sees all religions equally. And other effect of the religion is Puritanism. So the Reformation, which aimed at the removal of abuses of the church, laid emphasis on morality. So both Protestants and Catholics view one another in observing these morals. So they thought that Catholics assumed that Protestants were immoral, but Protestants assumed that Catholics were immoral. So in this environment, the moral earnestness, Puritanism arose and flourished not only among the Catholics, Luthers, Anglicans, but among other sects of the like Christianity. So the Puritanism waged war against many social evils like bullfights. They, like earlier there was a bullfight. So they said that this Puritan people बोले तो moral people. So moral people who believes in morality in Christianity, so they were called as Puritans, and they they waged wars against many social evils like bullfights, dancing, immoral books, theoretical productions, etc. And the negative impact of this Reformation is growth of witchcraft. So one of the evil effects of the Reformation was the belief in the witchcraft, that the Protestants' revolt, which attacked the superstitions of the Christendom or Catholic Church, was unfortunately resulted itself into the superstition of witchcraft. Witchcraft bole to like devils and all this stuff. However, later bloody campaign was waged against these witches all over the world. So witches against bloody campaign was held. Then economic effect. So what is the major economic effect after Reformation? The growth of capitalism happened. So the capitalism has grown enormously. If the capitalism produced the religious upheaval, and the upheaval accelerated its growth. So capitalism in turn have developed the religious upheaval, means religious change. Like बोले तो Catholic Church की moral कहते ही the capitalism has developed. So in turn the Protestantism has made this capitalist people. So the Reformation movement has led to this capitalism. The confiscation of the church properties happened, and it is utilized for the development of the industries and commerce, and stimulated economic individualism. So Calvin advocated even the charging of the interest. So Christianity may charging of the interest were seen at that time. And Calvin also advocated the charging of interest if you give money to the other person. And in fact, poverty was regarded as a sign of displeasure of the God, and poverty bearing is considered as blessings of the God. So this idea or the growth of capitalism has happened due to this Reformation. Then what is cultural effects? So cultural effects क्या था? So education was one of the subject that greatly suffered during this period, because this period, whatever the Protestants were fighting against the Catholics and the Catholics were fighting against the Protestants. Due to that, the kings and the peasants were not allotting so much of the money for these educational institutions, which hampered the popular education. And as a result, number of the schools which was maintained by the Catholic Church was eitherly disappeared or continued to exist. So what happened? So this Reformation movement has led to the masses. The masses को like ignorance की well में sink किया था. So the masses were not provided with the education because of this Reformation movement. So the education sector was greatly affected. But later on, different universities have started, and they started giving education to the people, poor people, with free of cost. Then what is the impact on art? So European art not only suffered but also underwent a great change during this Reformation period. So the Protestants said that these superstitions, idolatries and godlessness should be maintained. And Calvin condemned the use of pictures and images in the church. Prior to this Reformation movement, there are some pictures which are not related to the God in these worship places. So this Calvin has said that we have to condemn the use of the pictures and images in this church, and that is why the Puritans smashed the icons and erased the paintings of the churches. And even Catholics also made some changes. So the art is also very well developed. So again, the main theme is the Reformation has led to again rationalism, development of the rationalism in the human beings. So mostly the human beings or these European people questioned the age-old dogmas or the authorities of the church, and it has enlightened the religious spirit among the masses. And mostly there were the scientific progress of the Europe has started now, with the growth of religious tolerance. Tolerance के साथ में scientific progress भी चल रहा था. Then what are the political effects? So first thing is, after the Reformation has mainly led to the nationalism. So every Reformation has promoted the nationalism, and every citizen of the European nations had become so patriotic, and he is meant for this nationalism. And the other political effect of this Reformation was royal absolutism. So the Reformation gave impetus to the royal absolutism. So what is it? So the spirit of nationalism freed the monarchs of the Europe from the church control or papal control. So moreover, even the confiscation of the church lands, appropriation of the church powers, and establishment of control over the church people by the princes has tremendously increased the power and position of kings in the Europe, thus paving the way for royal absolutism. And the royal absolutism were further characterized by assertion of the new concept called as divine rights of the king. So it is said that the God has given the right for the kings to rule the people. So this divine right of the kings have originated, and the royal absolutism, all the powers were concentrated and centered in and around the king, was the main theme or the effect of this Reformation. Then individualism, other political effect is individualism. The Protestant movement condemned the slavish obedience of the man to the church and laid emphasis on individualism. Individualism we have taught in Reformation, Renaissance, and which is a basic element in the modern democratic doctrine. And the other effect is democracy and political revolts. So this Reformation movement has given impetus to this democracy and political revolts. And the main thing is the teachings of Zwingli and Calvin strengthened the spirit of democratizing the church, which inspired the political revolts in Netherlands and Scotland. Again, it was the Protestantism that had been the force for the great glorious revolution of 1688 in England, which is the main source of inspiration for successive revolutions of the modern age. So this is about the effects of the Reformation movement.